What does a higher dimensional consciousness, which is not biological, imply about the nature of life, death, and afterlife? Well, this changes everything. We have to rewrite more than a few textbooks. And we should not be too hard on ourselves. To be able to discover all that we have discovered, to be able to understand the nature of reality without knowing what consciousness is, has to be regarded as one of the greatest achievements of humanity. Yes, something very important is missing in our theories. We just have to be humble enough to accept that this thing changes everything. Consciousness does not make you look ridiculous. In fact, it says, it is because I was there as a watchful presence under which everything happened. There is order, there is beauty, there is magic, there is mystery in every part of existence. That order is what you have been playing with. Physics, chemistry, biology, understanding the nature of reality has been a long process of uncovering this order. So we have been discovering different facets of this consciousness, different dimensions of this consciousness, to use the word dimension in a completely wrong way. It is just its multifaceted expression. Of course, there is no intention here. Consciousness does not intend to create life. It has no romantic attachment to form. It is us human beings who are hopeless romantics. For us, consciousness is a mysterious entity. For itself, it is just its natural state. There is nothing mysterious about it. In fact, if consciousness could actually watch specific activities happening in the lower realm, it would be wondering every moment, what is happening here? What is the purpose of it? Because it is so complete and it is so simple. It is just a higher realm which has no limitations of space and time. And without limitation of space and time, it just knows everything as itself, because there is nothing stopping it from having an experience of that totality. Now, we human beings have been using these words, life, aliveness, consciousness, existence, being, in our own limited way. We have been using these words as human expressions, and we have been searching for this in things around us. If we find it in abundance, we interact with it more. If we don't find it in abundance, we just play with those entities, but we don't take them too seriously. If we cannot recognize it at all, then we simply call them inanimate objects. There's no life there. So we have been defining life in our own way. So for us, a human being is more conscious than, let's say, a cat. And a cat is more conscious than, let's say, a butterfly. And a butterfly is more conscious than an earthworm. An earthworm is more conscious than algae. That's where we lose track because we are not understanding life in its entirety as a foundational principle. We have been understanding as a filtering process through our thoughts, our emotions. And that is why we have a distinction between animate and inanimate, living and non living. When in fact, it is impossible for something not to be a component of consciousness. Everything in existence is consciousness. There is nothing else. Even an altered state of consciousness is consciousness. You pick up a rock, what are you picking up? You're just picking up frozen thoughts. Because the fundamental nature of reality is not space. It's going to take a while for us to wake up from this. Because we have been emphasizing, theorizing, conceptualizing reality as a physical place. Space, time, energy, matter, gravity, and the interaction between particles. And on the other side is biology, which is trying to explain life in as mysterious a way as possible. Because how else will it explain? I mean, think about it. We say all life emerged from this primordial soup during the early stages of the development of the earth, where chemicals had the opportunity to come together, interact, bond, and then become cells, and cells multiplied and things like that. But we have not been able to come anywhere close to replicating an environment with those conditions. Even theoretically, forget about actually creating the conditions. Even in simulations, even mathematically, we cannot create the primordial soup because there is no meaning to the words primordial, to the word soup, without consciousness watching it. Without someone watching it, these things don't mean anything. In fact, it has been proven beyond any doubt now that even our bodies don't exist when we are not watching them. This is quantum mechanics 101, basics. Observer effect is real. It is not just a laboratory phenomenon. Things appear the way they appear because there is an observer. When you choose not to watch something, it isn't there. It's as simple as that. It might be there for someone else because it's all within the same consciousness. Anybody can actualize the state. But if you are not actualizing the state, then it isn't real for you, which means your brain is not real at all. Like when you're sitting and having a conversation with someone, where is the brain? It is only when you cut open the skull and look at it, you find some new structures. And then you investigate more and more into it. And for those who are investigating more and more, brain is a reality. So what we have been doing is basically taking slices of consciousness, altered states of consciousness, putting it under our microscope and analyzing the structure, because that is as much as we can do. Because the very faculty through which we are doing this investigation cannot be the subject of investigation. You can put everything under the microscope. You cannot put the observer under the microscope because it is the observer that is watching everything. So when we look back on what we have accomplished, we have to marvel at the ability of a projection, a shadow, a reflection of consciousness to be able to use a language, an objective language, without confusing it with personal experiences and call it science. The very fact that science exists means that we have taken a giant leap in terms of seeing reality as it is and not as we are. And only, as far as we know, human beings have been capable of doing this. No other animal has this capability to step out of its own world of experiences and see life objectively. For animals, life is personal. That's it. They are only interested in things that directly concern them. They don't look up at the stars because it doesn't matter to them. We look up at stars because we are trying to understand the nature of reality as objectively as possible. Now, the ultimate pinnacle of objectivity is to take this perceiving faculty, this consciousness that we had always believed that it's somewhere inside our body, inside our heads, and disperse it everywhere and say, no, this is an objective scientific fact of life. Consciousness is a higher dimension. In our dimension, it just feels like a mysterious, intelligent, all-knowing force. But mathematically, logically, we can see that it is simply a property of this higher dimension. Nobody is creating consciousness. Nobody is generating it. Even consciousness itself is not generating consciousness. Because even words like it is creating, it is experiencing, it is still process-oriented words which make sense only in our three-dimensional world. Fourth dimension has no such restrictions. 2 points that are not separated by distance need not be explained as a process. How are they interacting with each other? What is the mechanism? How can this point know that point? This problem exists only in our three-dimensional world, which is a shadow, a projection. Reality is complete. It has an inside that our three-dimensional world doesn't have. When you look at a person, you are looking at a surface phenomenon projected on the screen of consciousness. But you might ask, where is this vibrancy of life coming from? It is not only I can see images, I can smell things, I can taste things, I can touch things. And the experience is so immersive, so complete. Yeah, because you are a three-dimensional shadow projected by four-dimensional consciousness when it is blocked by four-dimensional thoughts. And we have never understood what this four-dimension is. Fourth dimension is not just adding additional dimension. It is turning every point of our three-dimensional world into infinity. It is to remove all restrictions, all limitations. So we cannot even comprehend the degrees of freedom consciousness enjoys. The degrees of freedom is absolute. Hence, it does not require a process, it does not require time, it does not require space to move around, it can move without moving, it can see without seeing, it can be without being, it can act without acting. You cannot define it in terms of human language because our human language has been created to define the limitation of our experiences.